Happy Monday, good people, and welcome to WWT Live. An awful lot to talk about, including Mami, Tama, and Jack. We'll make sense of all of that on the other side. This is WWT Live.
Hey, y'all, it's Kona.
And I'm Chaos. And you're watching
Women's Wrestling Talk.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Happy Monday, good people. My name is Gerard Bonner. They call me the professor around these parts, and this is WWT Live, the Monday edition. I hope you guys have had an absolutely amazing weekend. It was certainly a very full weekend, all kinds of things going on in places not just named WWE. It's pretty amazing. So we're going to get into all of that. We'll talk about the fallout from SmackDown, what could be going on tonight at Raw, and then an awful lot happened in Chicago that you want to pay attention to. So all of that and more on the docket today, but I'm not alone, and you might be happy about that. For one, hanging out with us, of course, she's a regular here. It is Wrestling with Honey, who always has the honey pot predictions. Honey, how are you?
I am fantabulous. I'm hoping there's beautiful weather by your way. Is it beautiful over there?
It is sunny and warm. It's like 84 degrees here right now. It's crazy.
Loving it. Today is the official day where I feel spring was springing the way it was supposed to. So I'm feeling really good today.
We love to see it. And we've got a special guest joining us here on WWT Live. It is his maiden voyage. Welcome, Jason from That Wrestling Podcast. How are you, Jason?
What's up, guys? What's going on?
Hey, what's up?
We are good. I gotta go here and ask you this: the greatest rapper alive.
Yeah,
do tell.
We all know at WrestleMania, Lil Wayne was addressed as the greatest rapper alive. Mm-hmm. So I made a joke online about it, and I started getting hit up from my friends who they're not really wrestling fans, but for whatever reason we're watching it, or casuals. And they're like, we thought it was Eminem. We thought it was Jay-Z. And I'm not going to lie, I thought maybe Jay-Z as well in some weird way, but I just think it's funny. So I said, moving forward, I would like to be known also as the best rapper alive.
All right. And here we are. We love to see it. Well, Jason, welcome aboard. Make yourself at home. We're going to have a lot of fun. Dylan is in the house all the way from Australia, and we will have many more joining us, as is our custom. So there's plenty to talk about, and we'll start with, well, I'll tell you what. Coming into today, I definitely had a few other things I thought we'd be starting with, given all that happened on Friday and on Saturday, which we will get to. But the overarching news today starts with this piece about Mami. There's a report out there that's saying that Rhea Ripley is injured herself last week on Monday Night Raw, and some may be wondering how, as she did not actually have a match. She was involved in a backstage segment where she was attacked by Liv Morgan, and in this, and they've been playing the video several times, there's this moment where her arm just goes straight into the wall, and it doesn't look all that great. So she's already slated to address all of this tonight, but now they're saying that perhaps she could vacate the title. This injury is that serious. Jason, let me start with you, man. What do we make of this? Are we getting worked potentially, or could this be the end of one of the most significant title reigns in recent memory?
You know, that Liv Morgan chair shot out of nowhere last week kind of was like, I mean, it did what it was supposed to. It caught me off guard as the viewer. Maybe it caught Rhea off guard and did something that, nobody ever wants a talent to get hurt. And on what, if this is true and she does have to forfeit the title, this is going to be, I'll say within the last 5 years, a second reign that was cut short. Now, of course, when Becky had to relinquish, it was because she was having a baby, totally different. But, it's just another circumstance that, man, Rhea's had the belt for over a year now, and who knows what it could have become, or it's wrestling, and we could all be getting worked.
Honey, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm just hoping and praying that this is a work, because and you know what, if it is, it's a good one, only because I think if they are taking it that route, it would make sense, only because it will be something that's very talked about, and it's like going to have everybody guessing before Raw, and we'll find out by tonight. So it's just to keep the conversation going and, stirring the pot, as I like to use for honey pot predictions. But I didn't see this one coming. It did catch me off guard too with that chair shot. I thought it was personally something else. I didn't think it was her arm or something. I thought it was, like, God forbid, a concussion or her head or something. But it's something we never want to see, but I'm just praying and hoping that this is a really damn good work.
Well, I would like to remind us that we were in a very similar situation earlier this year, and how quickly we've forgotten. A certain Seth Rollins, a very similar report had come out about him coming from a match that he had with Jinder Mahal earlier in the year, and many were saying that he would not make it to Mania, and they were expecting again on a Monday night for him to relinquish the World Heavyweight Championship. It turned out that he did no such thing, and instead he managed to hold on to things until he was medically cleared, and of course made it through Mania. Obviously, Mania is behind us at this point. Will the injury that Rhea suffered be something that she'll be able to hold out with? If this is indeed an injury, we don't know, and we likely will not know until Raw hits the air tonight. And just prepare yourselves for whatever emotions could be evoked tonight, because it is a strong possibility we could see a number of two things. And as we knew it would, the chat is firing off. Boza, good to see you. Says it was one of two things. Either the chair shot shocked her, or her arm went into the wall. The hallway was tight last week. It came from PW Insider. So I think that's why people like myself are suspicious. If nothing, she could be just missing a week or two, work Backlash, and then drop the title. Again, this could go a lot of different ways, and I hope that after what happened earlier this year with Seth, we'll sit back and just kind of watch how this all plays out. Dylan says if Rhea has to vacate, put the title on Liv, then Mami returns as full babyface to take the title. Sean Ross Sapp gave a report on the free tier. Nobody in WWE is blaming, not even Mami. This is just a freak accident. Let's see. Crazy theory I'd like to run by the panel. I saw on a Facebook post that broke this. People think this is a work. WWE doesn't want Liv to beat Mami. Mami hasn't lost by pinfall in 2 years. Did I miss the theory? I saw on a Facebook post that broke.
I think what it is they don't want Rhea to get pinned because she hasn't lost by pinfall in a few years.
Okay. Got you. Well, that's an interesting theory.
It would kind of also make sense being the fact that, Liv wasn't getting so much love in recent months, and Mami's just taking all the, just getting everybody's love, heat and love, both at the same time. But if this is a work, that would be a good way to turn her baby face when she returns, and then Liv Morgan could be a heel, which would be something we've never seen.
Well, and there are a few interesting things. Obviously, I think they're going to work this into what's been going on with Liv. I mean, it's perfect for that story, her revenge tour, and whatever that revenge looks like for her. If it means taking out Rhea for her, it's almost an eye for an eye, considering Rhea injured Liv. The other thing about this that's interesting is I'm not sure that we're necessarily in an era that requires a full babyface turn. People are already cheering for Rhea as it is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else she needs to do. Save, I don't know, break away from the Judgment Day, which I'm not sure that would make a lot of sense for her. But I don't know. But I do think it'll be interesting. Yet another reason for us to watch Monday Night Raw again tonight. So be on the lookout. And somehow I knew this was going to come up. Special Little Nobodies is with us. Good to see you. Mid Morgan strikes again. We remember a few months ago where suddenly, I don't remember quite how Liv became the talk of conversation, but a lot of people were, let's just say Liv was polarizing. Let's just say that. People either loved her or didn't. And if Rhea Ripley ends up being injured and having to vacate the title because of Liv, this will only perpetuate how one feels about Liv Morgan one way or the other. So this should be pretty interesting for sure. Now, moving outside of WWE for a brief moment, a huge moment happened last weekend, which just speaks to kind of where we are in the wrestling world. The fact that literally on the heels of WrestleMania, there are other amazing cards that are happening that's causing us to talk is incredible. New Japan presented Windy City Riot last weekend in Chicago, and the card itself on paper was insane. I mean, like, it's kind of nuts that this literally happened the week after Mania. But probably the biggest piece of news coming out of this is Jon Moxley, who had been kind of on hiatus from AEW, on vacation, gets his first shot at the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Tetsuya Naito and wins. Jon Moxley, the first man to hold the IWGP World title, the AEW World title, and the WWE Championship. How do we process Jon Moxley as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion? And what, if anything, does that do to his relationship, dare I say, with AEW? Jason, what are your thoughts?
You know, it came out today that he doesn't care about the initials. He does whatever the F he wants. You know, we've seen him at GCW. We've seen him at Bloodsport, you know, New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the only place we haven't seen him pop up was TNA Impact.
Right.
You know, and most recently we haven't even seen him on AEW. So I think it's cool. It's that, you know, territory mentality, you know, very similar, you know, when Ric Flair was going from territory to territory. I'm here for it. You know, Mox is one of those guys that I was at Double or Nothing 2019 when he showed up, and I had no idea. All of a sudden behind me, people were losing their mind. He's running down the steps. And he's been the one, I think he's the MVP of AEW in their first 5 years of existence.
Agreed.
Yeah, I definitely would have to agree with that, Jason. This obviously speaks to a testament of Jon Moxley's work in the last few years. I think that this, especially with all of this that has transpired in the last few years, I believe that he made the right decision leaving WWE. And he's basically living his best life now. And he's just conquering the territories. And for him to be the first ever global Grand Slam champion is mind-blowing. And I'm sure that's something that nobody saw coming. And especially when he was just a Dean Ambrose in the shadows of the Shield. You know, I feel like a lot of people thought him the unsung hero of the Shield because he was always in the back. But now he's made his way to every territory, almost every territory, and completely just bombarded every single ring. And he's just done so much and contributed so much to this business. I think this is more than well-deserved for Jon Moxley. So kudos to him.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to watch what Moxley has done. And let's see, of course, all sorts of commentary in this space. Let's see. Dylan calls him Stone Cold John Moxton. Boza says this is the shocker moment of 2024. This is definitely, I don't know if it's the shocker of 2024. I'd probably call The Rock's return and then him going to the final boss probably the number one shocker of the year so far. But this is a shocker. And I think it's a shocker just because, you know, as much as we've seen Moxley show up in New Japan, it hasn't always guaranteed him a win. He's held championships over there before, but him winning that world title after Naito just won it at Wrestle Kingdom a couple of months ago and winning it on U.S. soil, that title usually changes hands in Japan and Japan only. So this is pretty historic on a lot of fronts. Eric says Mox is the only member of the Shield that had a good week last week. Fair point. Fair point. Let's see. I'm going to give MDB probably 2 comments today. Here's one of them. We can tell Jon Moxley does whatever he wants. We've seen him wrestle. Oh, that's really kind of you to say. Let's see.
I guess I get Thanks, Captain Obvious response for that. Yeah, I get it.
Mhm.
We all know. But it was published today in a story, so I'm just running with it.
Yeah. Let's see. If Mox ever leaves AEW, it's going to be a big blow to that company.
Big
Now,
time.
I definitely agree. To that. And here's the second one. It's crazy how he's the MVP of AEW, but he's gotten so much worse. Says a lot about AEW.
Wow.
Jason, I'll tell you, MDB is slightly opinionated. Slightly.
I bet he at parties. Wow.
Yeah. And did you say party?
Yeah, I said I bet he's fun at parties with those two responses. I mean,
I thought you said party just in time for the mayor of all things Vice City leading the party, of course. Seth is in the building. Seth, how are you, sir? Seth is waxing. He's waxing poetic. While
I am sorry. I was just giving the professor so much praise for these transitions.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Good one.
I appreciate it. You good, man?
I'm solid. Is everybody good?
Everybody's great.
We're
Feeling
good. We're good. How are you
You
feeling
guys know
about
what
Mox?
today is?
Uh-oh.
Today is the 15th.
What is today?
Tax
It could
day.
be many things.
Tax
I'll
day.
save it for later. But it's a
Oh,
great day.
Oh, I'm
It's a great day.
excited
boy.
now.
This is going to be cliffhanger. We've got a cliffhanger. So what are your thoughts on Moxley winning the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship?
That's big news. I was just looking to you guys talking about the comments. I think people are a little overly critical of his, you want to call it his in-ring work, but I mean, he's been the most solid hand that company has had for the most part. And honestly, if you're talking about in this sphere of wrestling, not pop culture, not entertainment, he's been very consistent. You can argue
Yes.
out of the three of the Shield, he's really made a name for himself when you talk about the history books of wrestling. Like Mox is one of them ones, 101.
Mm-hmm.
Always available, always working, still hasn't taken a vacation and still putting on matches in every promotion imaginable. Like if you really look back and you think about the three of them and what all of them have meant, he's probably put the biggest stamp on his name. Like I can't imagine him going back to WWE with everything he's accomplished. Like he's just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. And I'm not sure, and I won't bust that bubble if we're talking about the same thing potentially. But, there at this point in 2024, we now have a solid list of people who are WWE alumni who we can say have accomplished much more outside of WWE than inside of the WWE, such that there would not be a need for them to return to WWE anytime soon. And certainly I think Moxley is one of those people. Another one of those people I think would be so far Mustafa Ali, who in the last 3 months has fought 26 matches, won 2 championships, and over the weekend beat Hiromu Takahashi, which when you start thinking about the New Japan world and junior heavyweights or cruiserweights, like he is top of the top of this generation. So Ali is a very, very special cat for sure. Speaking of what happened in Chicago, another big moment, Zack Sabre Jr. regains the NJPW World Television Championship by defeating Matt Riddle, the bro. And I'm kind of laughing about that because I'm surprised. Matt Riddle obviously won that title, defeating Tanahashi in Japan. And I figured him defending that title on U.S. soil could be a win for him, but not the case at all for Matt Riddle. But the other really big piece of news, and I just can't wait to dive into this. On this card, on top of everything we've talked about, John Moxley winning the championship, varying titles won, and the like. Jack Perry, who was already signed up to be on this card, after what happened Wednesday night, became must-see TV. And when you talk about somebody who leaned into this, he came out literally with like a riot squad, wore this jacket that said "Cry Me a River," had the flag of Chicago that CM Punk normally has. He actually pulled out the same choke that CM Punk used on him during this match. He even motioned to do a GTS. Like, so let me just ask this question, and this might even be obvious, but who really won with the airing of this footage from AEW? Because it seems to me, well, I won't give my answer yet. It seems like Captain Obvious, but Jason, man, what are your thoughts? Who actually won? If you look at the fact that, you know, CM Punk is doing all he's doing, Jack Perry had a show 2 nights later. What do you think?
You know, I think that at first I'm like, this is dumb. Why are they even doing this? But the fact that they are making it into a storyline about the Bucks and FTR, I'm here for it. I enjoy it. I think that Jack Perry should have come back to TV on Wednesday, but obviously with the show in Chicago, it makes sense why they didn't. Well, maybe he'll come back this week on TV or even at the pay-per-view and help the Bucks beat FTR. Maybe Jack becomes part of the Elite. You know, when they did the video, you know, presentation of the backstage, Matthew Jackson was wearing the Scapegoat t-shirt that was sold out of PWTs the next day. So, I mean, there's a lot of ties here. It all could be for nothing, but, you know, it's pro wrestling and I love it. And I can't wait to see what happens.
You know, we talked about it. I'm sorry, Professor.
No, go ahead.
But we did talk about it in the chat where we were like, this is going to be awful. This is not good for AEW. This is not going to be a win-win situation, you know, because as they say, nobody wins when the family loses, you know, or no, you know what I'm saying? Like, or feuds. But I have a lot of respect for Jack Perry after this moment, because just when I thought I couldn't see him out of that Jungle Boy persona, because I was seriously tired of that. That was way too overdone and probably a gimmick that went on longer than it needed to. But seeing this on Jack Perry and this kind of attitude, and you know, the Crimea River thing works really well. Now he's just eating it up. I'm here for this. I'm here for the dramatics of it because, you know, I love me a good feud. I love me a good blood feud. I love it. But I don't really know who won here. Because at first when we initially saw the footage and we were like, okay, what is this for? And you know, the Jackson brothers, the EVPs as they like to call themselves, they you know, they did their best to sell it. They weren't selling it for me personally, because I don't know, I know you guys must have seen it. The look on Shivani's face said it all. Because that's what me and the professor were talking about in the chat. We were like, this is awful. Like, can you just see his reaction? It was just like, you knew it was going to be a recipe for disaster. But Jack Perry had something up his sleeve, literally, with this jacket. And I think that's probably what it was setting up for. And we just didn't know it yet. So in this case, I think if I had to pick a winner now, it's got to be Jack Perry because he's eating it up.
Said.
First thing I wanted to say, in reference to Zack Sabre Jr. retaining, the man... Riddle keeps shooting himself in the damn foot. I don't know if you guys noticed that he no-sold at the finish and kind of just pranced his way out the ring, handshaking fans and stuff. So don't know what's going to happen with that, but that was a big telling point from the end of that match. Don't know how he'll continue to burn bridges like that. But Perry, I mean, this stuff is weird, and I think it's only benefiting one person, and that person is injured. He's hurt, and he's getting all this free publicity to rehab his tricep. Like, it makes no sense. So we're hammering this into the ground, and I don't see how this benefits Jack Perry long term as far as like bookings and things like that to try to agitate fans in Chicago of all places. I don't know if that's the type of heat that you would even want to get. You want people to welcome you back. You want people to enjoy your work. And this is like what Punk said to Drew like a couple weeks ago. I never had to put another man's name on a shirt to sell it. And that's what we're doing. We're doing that as an entire company right now to sell our product. And it's really a no-win situation because what if, for example, like what if cease and desist start getting thrown left and right for the use of CM Punk imagery, likeness, things like that. And we talk about big bank, take little bank all the time. That's very possible with this TKO money. Very possible. So it's fun and cute for now, but like, let's get back to investing in the superstars the right way and building them up the right way. Because I don't think this is going to have any type of staying power 6 months from now.
Yeah, that's why I said Jack Perry for now is winning. But to piggyback off of your statement said about CM Punk's shirt, he did have a shirt called "I'm a Paul Heyman guy." Technically, that's another man's name on his T-shirt. Just saying. Just had to put that out there.
I've got that T-shirt hanging over there. So.
But was that a CM Punk shirt or was that a Paul Heyman shirt?
Well, it was a CM Punk shirt, I believe, because he wore that shirt around a lot, from what I remember. But it was Paul Heyman's name on it because he called himself "I'm a Paul Heyman guy." So
you know who I think could potentially win out of this? Drew McIntyre.
Oh yes,
Common Sense Drew has been the best in the last 2 months.
Yes.
I would agree.
You know, bad guys don't think they're bad guys. They just think they're right. So I can't wait for Raw later tonight just to see if there's some sort of subtle dig, anything.
You know it.
I love Common Sense Drew.
Yeah. It's funny. WWE on occasion can be petty if they need to be. And there was this graphic floating around about they had some on sale dates that were happening this Friday, and the pre-sale code was all WWE. Not to be confused with All In. Just well done by WWE. It's pretty fun. Of course, there's lots going on over here in the chat. Let's see what is happening here. Where shall we start? There's so much here. The Bucks not walking Jack Perry to the ring is such a missed opportunity. I think, again, you know, the thing that people have to remember is, of course, this is a New Japan event. And obviously there is, well, I shouldn't say obviously, you know, there is, as far as we know, still a relationship between New Japan and AEW. The extent of that relationship is what's in question here, because it seems as though it would have been super easy if they were working together on this to be able to send them there, which kind of says maybe they weren't working together on this and that Jack Perry just decided to lean into it. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of what Rocky just did, right? You know, instead of fighting the people, you want to hate me, I'm going to give you a reason to hate me, you know? And to see the way, like, I honestly I had so much respect for how Jack Perry handled this in Chicago. I mean, you're already going into enemy territory in Chicago anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But to lean into it the way that it's the stuff that great heels are made of. And so I love all of it for sure. Let's see. Boza says he became the most sympathetic figure I've ever seen in my life. That's interesting. I read another MDB comment. Jack Perry lost because he disrespected the Chicago flag. Cry me a river. That's funny. Dylan says Punk and Perry both won in this scenario, which I definitely think they do. Boza says WWE won, but I can see the arguments for Jack Perry. Let's see. I'm going against my word. Shame on me. Punk is the biggest winner. He got vindicated. Jack Perry is just saving face. You know, I don't know if it's a saving face as much as it is, if people are going to be talking about it, let me give them a reason, you know, which I think that's the smart thing to do when it comes to a space like this. So moving from this to another very interesting piece of news that, well, might actually bring us real tears on this. Big E yesterday went on to the Twitter machine, now known as X, to give us an update on his health. Now, the first thing I will tell you is it's hard to believe that it has been 2 years since this injury actually happened, which just tells me how quickly time moves on. And he hopped on to Twitter, and this is what he said. He said, the 2-year neck scan are in, things are unchanged. My C1 has healed fibrously, but has not formed new bone. I'm not medically cleared, and truthfully, I may never be cleared, but I am blessed to be free of pain, immensely happy, and otherwise healthy. Life is good. He would later on in the day go on to start posting pictures of him and his new girlfriend, which is the sister of Mia Yim. And they had some classic really photos
cute.
that they posted for sure. But let me ask you, Jason, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this news regarding Big E, saying that he may possibly never be medically cleared to return to the ring?
You know, I think that he's one of those guys that everybody loves, everybody likes. Never heard a bad thing about him. And I'm currently watching the Next Gen series on Roku, the tryout from last year. And Big E's one of the evaluators. And it's just cool to see him. You know, obviously he's there to do a job, but he's an entertainer. So that, you know, there are parts where, you know, he'll make you laugh. But for him to be this upfront, I think it says a lot of things, because everyone's like, oh, he's going to come back to Royal Rumble. Oh, he's going to come back here. He's going to help out here. He's going to. I think it's just time to come to grips that he may be done.
Honey.
It makes me sad. This really truly makes me sad, only because like you said, Jason, he's so beloved by everybody, fans and his peers alike, and he's just one of those where you could see him going on multiple runs going forward, because he was in such good health, and he was a great athlete, and he handled himself really well in the ring. But unfortunately, accidents do happen, and you know, it's not something we ever really like to see, especially if it's like our favorite superstars. Not that anybody deserves or anybody, you know, even if we didn't consider them our favorites, not that we would, you know, want them to be going through something like this anyway. But it's Big E. I think it just hurts a little bit more in the gut because it's Big E, and because he wasn't even close to getting the runs that he deserved. But as always, things happen, and at least he's pain-free. You know, that's always a plus. I feel like we're seeing another Daniel Bryan and Edge situation. I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to be coming back, but I'm just saying, like, you never know later on what the years can hold, and if, you know, if there is new bone being formed there, and you know, things like that, because there were some miracles that have happened in WWE that we've been able to witness. So we could just only hope and pray for something like that for someone as beloved as Big E as well.
I feel like we got to send like a Sky message or something to NXT and make sure Sean does not put Ridge Holland on TV this Tuesday. Do not do it. That would be terrible timing to put that man in the fire.
He's actually scheduled for a match.
Jeez,
Lord.
Let's not do that, because the timing of that is just bad. But all in all, it sounds like the vulnerability to be so open with this. I think he has a point of closure, and I think I saw an excerpt where he talked to Woods and Kofi about them having a third member if they wanted to, because it has been 2 years and they've shut it down. So
yeah,
I think he's finally at peace with it, because he's doing so many extracurricular activities, not just in a wrestling standpoint, but with collegiate football too, is that he knows that there's a lot of ways to continue feeding his passions, which that's beautiful to see. And at the end of the day, I'm happy that he finally got his crowning moment. Outside of what just happened with finishing the story, I don't think there's ever been a time I've seen personally where it's like this universal love of somebody becoming a world champion in WWE. I remember the moment, and I think WWE changed their entire socials up. It was like, Big E is our champion in the headline. They changed the banner photo. I've never seen something like that happen in celebration of somebody becoming a champ. So somebody that is universally beloved, they got their time in the sun. If it had to end that way, it's terrible. But if he's at peace, I think all fans should have that same peace as well, knowing that he's still happy, just living life.
And I think perhaps the biggest win out of all of this is his health. You know, most people who end up with these kinds of neck injuries end up being paralyzed, you know, or paraplegics or things of that nature. And so to see him walking around, to see him being able to do all of these kinds of activities and being pain-free is probably a bigger win than many of us actually realize, you know.
Yeah. And still being so happy and go lucky about it too, you know, like to be able to still have that power of positivity, quite literally, you know, mixed with a little John Cena, never give up. I'm still holding on to working on my dreams and finding other passions, you know. So I hope a lot of people look into that and take note from somebody like Big E.
It certainly makes me think that Big E will likely always have a job with WWE as long as he wants one.
Yes.
He fits into a lot of roles. And, you know, sometimes these kinds of moments where you're not able to get back in the ring gives way to another part of your career. I mean, think about as as Michael Cole referred to him on WrestleMania weekend, the heir apparent, that being Corey Graves. Most people forgot that he actually wrestled for quite some time, a former NXT Tag Team Champion. Injury ended his career, but opened the door for another leg in his career, and now he's the voice of SmackDown. So who knows what could be in the future there for Big E, but it's cool that he's getting all of these additional opportunities when it comes to WWE. So very excited about that. We're going to continue because there's much more to talk about because, well, a lot happened. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Including all things SmackDown and what's going on with the Bloodline. We'll get into all of that, but it's time for you to grab some merch.
Hey, yo, you. Yeah, you that's watching this. You sitting on the couch staring at the screen not knowing what you want to do like this is an online college. Are you tired of wearing shirts that make you look like an extra stuck in catering? Do you want to step your wrestling swag game up to the next level? Then Women's Wrestling Talk has got you covered. Like literally. Are you for life in pink or black and white? Or maybe you're the EST and people need to respect you accordingly. Want to put some pride in your stride and show off the muscle in your hustle? Then make sure you check out the WWT store. Not now, but right now. Alright? What you waiting for? Head to www talkpodstore.com and don't make me fight you. Shit.
Yeah, don't make us fight you. You heard the woman.
Better go get that merch. Go get that
Go
merch.
get that merch.
Right now.
It's available right now. And you can just simply scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner and check out the merch that we have. All right. With that said, let's go back to Friday night and SmackDown. There had been rumors that this man was circling Detroit. But I don't think anybody was prepared for how he showed up as entering the group chat. It's Tama Tonga who showed up during this segment with the Bloodline. And there's a lot to unpack here. I don't know if we thought that the Bloodline would show up this soon, but they have. And we heard words. Really, this is probably the most we've heard Solo talk since he's been on the main roster. Seems like Jimmy is either out or severely punished. Tama Tonga is in. The wise man's phone is crushed. And it seems like the wise man doesn't know anything about these orders from the tribal chief. All right, Jason, what do we make? Let's start with you. What are your thoughts on the debut of Tama Tonga in WWE, particularly as part of the Bloodline?
So how I thought this was going to go down was I thought Jimmy was going to get drafted to NXT and then start working on the rebuild of the Bloodline so that whenever Roman comes back, he can be like, look, Goose, look what I've done. I've built the next era. Because, you know, they love that word era these days in WWE. The next era of the Bloodline. So, okay, that's not happening. When he showed up, I think I yelled at my TV. I was like, holy, you know, I was seeing. And then by orders of the tribal chief, Roman has said Solo is the next tribal chief. Mm-hmm. Maybe Solo's just tired. He ain't waiting. Solo's taking charge right now, similar to Triple H rebooting DX after Shawn Michaels lost the belt to Austin in Mania. What is that, 14?
14.
Maybe it's kind of a rehash of that storyline from back then. But, Solo is the guy now. And Heyman is very afraid of him.
Jason, I like the way you think. You got to come back. I like the way you think.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Honey, you're welcome. Honey, I know you were doing the live watch along with this. For those who didn't catch it, what are your thoughts on this? And what do you make of Solo and Tama Tonga right now?
I was happy to actually finally get confirmation that this man was going to show up because I was just been waiting. I'm like, we need more members. We need more Bloodline members. Our tribal chief is down and out for the count. What are we going to do from here? How do we move on from this? Because, for those who still acknowledge him, we're a little, we got over our little depression. Got over it because, we always bounce back. That's what we do. But But I'm not gonna lie. I was very surprised, but I feel a type of way. And it's because of Solo. I feel a type of way. Where was this energy when Roman was there? Now all of a sudden you just asserting yourself in that position without anything from him. We probably are not going to hear from Roman for a couple months. Like, it's going to be a while till we see Roman again. But I feel a kind of way, because where was this energy at when Roman was around? Now all of a sudden you're asserting yourself as a tribal chief. We know that he has acknowledged you as the future. We know that. But we haven't really dubbed you or claimed you the tribal chief and acknowledged you properly. So now, is this an invasion? Is this going to lead to? Is this something that Roman actually called for? Who's to say that this was Roman's call in the first place? I mean, we did see Solo smash the wise man's phone, and that's the tribal chief's wise man. That's not just anybody's wise man. That's our tribal chief's wise man. And as far as we know, the wise man is just as important. He has as much importance as the tribal chief himself. So to consider, I think we have to consider a little bit of the disrespect and a little bit of the assertion and assumption that Solo is making right now. But however, Tama Tonga is a great addition, but I just don't know if this is the same bloodline that we've always been seeing for the last few years. And it could possibly lead to something bigger within the bloodline, which I think we all know what I'm getting at. We could possibly I foresee a civil war in the future if this was something not called by Roman.
Said.
I feel like we're bearing the lead here. I think for once, Solo said, I need to get some family members who will actually help me get some wins. That's
and there's that.
Maybe that's what this was. Just, hey, these cousins won't help me get wins. I need some wins. Tama, I heard you got signed. Jacob, I hear you're on the way. Maybe help me get some. But there's a lot of layers to read here. I do like that Jimmy to NXT thing, just because the superstars will be able to be drafted to NXT, and then there was so much backlash over the Usos versus Usos match. Maybe some extra work as a singles could benefit there, because all the rumblings about the Usos are going to get back together too soon, way too soon. You don't do that to Jimmy, who's selling merch, legitimate single star, put him back in the tag team when the divisions are still very deep for tag teams right now. You don't need to just put the Usos back into that right now. I think Jimmy needs to have his own character arc, the bum ass Corbin character arc, if you would. The rags to riches character arc will work perfectly for him. But Solo stands the best to benefit of Roman's absence right now. Taking an authority figure, taking lead. Who everybody's saying, The Rock sent these orders in. Maybe it's not The Rock. Maybe it's the elders. Maybe it's Rikishi. Maybe somebody else said, hey, you need to pull the trigger on this to bring gold back to our family. I hope it's not one of those things where The Rock called these orders and we got to wait months just to see that play out, because there's a lot of stories that can be told in the interim right now. So I think the next domino to fall is, obviously we know Jacob Fatu got signed. Tama is here. Shout out to them, letting him keep his actual name. I'm interested to see what happens more so in Heyman's role in all this, because them saying by orders of the tribal chief, who's to say it's not Roman reshuffling his deck, reshuffling his bloodline and saying we need to be stronger. I mean, his TikTok said that yesterday we mourned, today is day one. I personally don't want to see Roman come back to a babyface. I think he found his character arc for the rest of his career right here. So let's run it back. SmackDown is going to have so many different stories, and I think maybe Paul, as the wise man, will just get filled in the back end.
Yeah, we've got to see what Paul does, because I got to keep my eye on Paul, because he just oversells and sells everything, and you got to make sure you listen to everything he says and how it's done. Like, there's just way too many layers too soon to even fathom what could be happening in front of our eyes.
And can I mention another Heyman thing? I think the real money is going to be whenever Paul and CM Punk reunite at some point. At some point, you're going to print money whenever that happens.
He went there.
I'll tell you what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the fact that I think everybody figured when Cody finished the story, that also finished the story of the Bloodline. I don't think anybody anticipated life after Roman losing the championship. But I think they wasted no time in making this extremely interesting. You know, Solo showing up in this particular way, the addition of Tama Tonga. You know, there's the photo floating around, of course, of both of their dads working together back in the 2000s. You know, like it's a thing. It's a real thing. And we know that that family tree runs deep. It runs wide. And they could call almost anybody at this point to come in and be a part of this. I like the idea, and I think maybe, Jason, you said it, of kind of the DX rebuild and the Bloodline rebuild. Because if you remember, the DX rebuild following Shawn losing the title became the DX that everybody remembered.
Yeah.
Most people forgot the version of Shawn, Triple H, in China. They remembered Triple H, the Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, X-Pac, and that crew. Yeah. So if this is a rebuild and they rebuild this to potentially be greater than what we had before, which if we think about it, it's not that hard. Because granted, while the Usos were doing well, it was just primarily the Usos and Roman with an occasional splash of Solo. But then when the Usos split and you just had Jay and Solo, they were nowhere near as strong.
Right.
So the potential here, if you're talking Tama Tonga, if you're talking Jacob Fatu, this is crazy because those two are madness. I mean, all that Tama did, of course, in New Japan, what Jacob did in MLW, like them bringing that energy to WWE and this version of the Bloodline, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And not to mention if, part of me is going to have my eyes, of course, on that women's title match next week with Naomi and Bayley, because there's a part of me that's wondering, is this too soon for Naomi to get this title shot? Oof. And what could this mean if she loses?
Is that Friday?
It's Friday on SmackDown.
This Friday.
So I will be there because it's in Pittsburgh where I'm at. So
nice.
I didn't realize that match, and I never even thought about Naomi and the Bloodline.
Nobody thought about Naomi and the Bloodline. I remember this a couple of weeks ago. They had showed while the Tribal Chief was still the champ. There was that segment with Bianca and Naomi, and Naomi was trying to calm her down from getting at Bayley and everything, and they were walking by the hallway. And Pat just randomly in the same shot as Cody Rhodes signing autographs. I thought that was something that we shouldn't overlook because I think Naomi's somebody we need to keep our eye on. Now, I don't see any reason why this woman wouldn't be a part of a Bloodline, and she would kill it.
How would that work now, though? Would that explain this was Jimmy's licking for losing, or did he get executed or excommunicado from the Bloodline? I think that would have to be resolved first for that.
Well, I don't know that it has to be resolved. I do think it could be addressed at some point because you're right. The beating that he got, we don't know if that means he's out or if these are just the consequences for losing, as to never lose again. So that has to be explained. But
also remember, Tiffany did on camera mention it, or not? Was it on camera? No, on Twitter. She asked, "How's Jimmy?" And last person that did that was Mandy Rose.
And one thing we should all know is that the way WWE has set things up, you do have to pay attention to everything. Nothing is random anymore.
Nope.
Everything is fair game. And so in terms of what Naomi could do and why this could make sense for her to join the Bloodline, it's because what we also saw was these two women in the Dream Team actually team up. It was Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, which I'm having a moment because I remember all of the conversations when Jade got signed and should she end up teaming up with Bianca? Should they stay far apart? All the theories that we had. And here we go. Last week, we're seeing them. Well, this has moved quickly. 3 weeks ago, Jade Cargill gets officially signed to SmackDown. Then after that, she ends up in that incredible moment where she saves Bianca and Naomi against Damage Control. They have the epic point, which the point heard round the world. And then the next week, they're in WrestleMania. And then after that, we get these two women teaming up. And then on a WWE digital exclusive, they're asked the question, are you considering going after the tag team championships? And they say, absolutely, they are. So obviously, if they're going after the tag team titles, where does this leave Naomi with the big three? She needs something to do. But with that, I'll let that simmer over there. And I want to ask you guys, after all of the conjecture, should they, shouldn't they? We see it in front of our eyes. Jade and Bianca as a tag team. Do you want to see them perhaps pursue the tag team titles, or is this kind of a mega powers theory that need not be revisited?
Looks quite beautiful to me. It looks quite beautiful to me, and it would be quite historic. And we know that there's not a tag team in the world that would take these girls down. Like, they are immensely talented, and just look at them. Like, they just look at them. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I wouldn't mind seeing them tag team at all, though. I think that's something that we all really want. And being that we are now in a different era, it seems like they're trying to give us what we really want, like for real this time. So I'll take it. I'll take my dinner plate and I'm gonna eat it up and enjoy it, and I'm not gonna complain. But I think it's funny that Jade Cargill wiped out Chelsea Green twice in 1 week, which was hilarious to me.
Yes.
The one thing I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, go ahead. I was done.
The one thing I've always wanted was a dominant women's faction, kind of like the NWO, but all women. And the closest thing that I feel like we've had in recent years was Toxic Attraction in NXT. Now, looking at this photo right now with these two, and I'm like, all right, this could be the beginning of that. Maybe if, obviously with Naomi, maybe throw two more in there. Because once they defeat Damage Control for the titles, I think Damage Control is going to disband. I'm not sure in what capacity. Maybe Dakota goes solo and the other two are tagged. But like, I was not a fan of Jade in AEW. I wasn't. I'm like, I just felt like she wasn't. I feel like she was just thrown out there without proper training. And then, the way that WWE has presented her, and she spent the time and got the work in, and now that she's here, she's must-see TV. And with both of them, and I hate being this guy, it's going to be awesome when they team, but when one of them turns on the other, it's going to be even better.
It probably will, because that's something I could also see happening too. I wouldn't put it past them.
Said?
That's the only thing about them being a tag team that I dislike, is that the eventual turn or the eventual who's better of the two when they're maybe so dominant. I like the big three aspect thing and all the imagery we're seeing because of that, because it kind of makes me feel like I'm getting female Shield vibes. And I feel like they should build it like that, where they only are single stars that come together when there's a major threat. But I know this is a way to make Bianca a Grand Slam champion, which she absolutely deserves. And at some point, she'll go down to NXT and get that title that she should have won before, too. I think she has to get all those accolades for everything that she's gotten in such a short period of time being on main. Like, just being as dominant as she is. She deserves all those accolades. And if they do have to do it, I'm not ready for my Kabukis to lose the title yet, because I think they're a perfect tag team every time they have the belts, and you got to have some gold and Damage Control to make them relevant. But if they do it, I hope they do it maybe 2 PLEs from now, do it overseas at one of the international shows, and I think it'll hit a little bit more. But eventually when they do the turn, I think it shouldn't be Jade. Don't let Jade do it. Let Bianca turn on Jade and say, hey, I've been here for all this time. I'm the one that had to shine. I'm the star here, and you're coming here taking my spotlight. I hope they do it that way if they do it. Let Jade be the babyface going into this, because she needs – I would say she needs the audience behind her now, more than Bianca does.
I was rewatching Jade's interview on the Michael Kay show prior to WrestleMania when she was with Peter Rosenberg. And she was asking, like, they had asked her even then about teaming up with the girls and how, you know, the point heard around the world. But she was like, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm here to take over. We all know that's a given. So with her saying that, it could, I think she has a lot of potential to be the one to light that first match and draw the first blood to show her dominance and put her stamp in the WWE roster as well as a singles competitor. Because I mean, I'm not sure who's taking her down. Regardless of what happens, I don't know who's taking down either of these girls or one of them. It don't matter. Just know you got a lot on your hands.
Yeah, this is gonna be, it's gonna be something to watch. And it's funny because I initially was one of the ones that felt like keep them apart for as long as you can. Keep Bianca and Jade apart. And then as we're getting close to, you know, Mania next year, then let's start having that conversation. But what I will say is seeing it hits differently. Just it's almost like, you know, there's certain things in concept you're like, nah. But then when you see it, it's like,
It looks
I
great.
didn't know how much I needed this.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's just crazy the way that the world of wrestling works, because a year ago, this would not have been possible at all. You know, it was a dream. It was all a dream. And here we are now. This is our reality. And I honestly didn't think that we'd see a happy Jade, if we can call it that. We've always seen, which is probably why there's a part of most of us that feel like Jade's going to do the turn, because we've never seen her this happy before and happy-go-lucky and etc. And so it's I'm here for the ride. You know, I know there are those who are like, I can't wait for the turn, but I'm like, no, I need to enjoy every week of this. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait because I know what's gonna happen. If it does happen, it's gonna be one of the most emotional moments. And we've been getting hit with emotional moments. This is, I'll say this, and I don't really want to take myself down this road, but for the sake of the conversation, the turn that we saw with Bayley, that's gonna be child's play.
Mm-hmm.
If and when this happens, it's going to be one of the most brutal things we've ever seen. But I don't want to go there right now. I need to enjoy what we're seeing because, again, this was not possible last year, but it's a reality right now. And so since it's a reality, I think that is a perfect segue into the latest piece of commentary that one Tony Khan has had to say. As Tony Khan, now mind you, let me remind everyone of this picture right here and all that we saw at the WrestleMania press conference. You know, you can tell when people have been working together and they really like each other, or when they've been forced to work together. And that press conference and all the camaraderie we've seen involving Jade and Naomi and Bianca, looks like they didn't just establish that in 2 weeks.
They had a couple
like
drinks,
they did that.
right?
You know, they've been to a couple of games together. They've done, I mean, it's been documented, the games that Jade and Naomi have been to together in Atlanta and all the things. Well, Tony Khan, here's what's funny. Every time you say his name, there's always this deep sigh that's connected because you just know something
coming from me
salacious or yeah, I mean, like, no, we all do. You say his name and then you pause. So Tony Khan, there it is. He said this in a recent interview. He says, quote, everyone knows that the most real thing in wrestling is the competition between the companies. The companies hate each other, and it will be a natural resource that powers the industry. They want to beat each other and take everybody's free agents, and that makes it interesting for everybody else. Now, I know they say that a broken clock can be right twice a day. Is this one of those times for Tony Khan, or do we just kind of put this inside the week that he's already having?
I will disagree with Tony Khan simply because look at last week's AEW Dynamite. He had a Samoan named Joe defend a title against a Rhodes. CM Punk was the highest rated segment of the show. He obviously loves WWE, and he wants this show to be a part of it and be similar. So I'm going to disagree. Look, business is business. Everybody wants to succeed. This one, you always hear the talent say, oh, we don't want anybody to go out of business. We want more people to work. We want more places to work. Look, I think maybe he knows he's up against a corner, or whatever that saying is, backed into the corner. And, him saying that, oh, everyone hates each other. No, this pay-per-view they have coming up this weekend, that is an A++ pay-per-view, Dynasty. The matches, everything they have going for it. And it's just this type of stuff that this guy says that's like, oh, man, here we go again.
There's a reason why we call him the fake TK. And this is one of those reasons.
Gotcha.
Like, I just feel like this man lives in his own bubble of a world and just, like whoever he has around him is just living in it. The AEW, they're just living in it. And it's like, I feel like a lot of the superstars he works with, they're like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever you say, TK. And they're like, nah, we're gonna go over this way anyway. Like, it's just very that. It's that friend that you like. He's somebody that you know as an acquaintance, but you don't want him to be your friend. Like, it just comes, and it's just, I just feel like I just don't know what to make of anything that he said, because it's like, dude, what planet are you on? What have you, like, are you watching anything that we're watching at all? Like, it doesn't seem. I wouldn't say the companies hate each other. I would just say that it's healthy, friendly competition, and that's something that we've always thrived on, because that's what gives us the reasons to want to watch. But it's like, TK, you can't say, you get like fake TK, excuse me, because we have the real TK, just so for y'all that don't know. But I just feel like he's just all this. He's all of this, and he just needs to stop. He just needs to stop and just let your company run, because it's doing fine. You're actually doing a great job these days. Just if you just do a better job, if you keep your mouth shut, just stay in the back, stay in the wings, and stay in the microphone in the back in people's ears. Don't do no press conference. Don't sit next to the superstar. You just make everything awkward. You just make everything weird, and half of the things you say don't even make sense. I'm sorry, that's just me, and that's all I got to say about that.
Said.
This sounds like a man that is hell bent on unmasking Spider-Man. He's obsessed. Obsessed. Just sheer obsessed with Big Brother. And it's like, everybody's telling him, like, you don't have to do that. There are times we've pointed out your wins. Like, you've had wins. You have talent there that chose to go to your company, that swears by your company, but you keep doing these things where it's like, well, that's not enough. We signed Ospreay, Okada, and Mercedes. That's not enough. We hate that other company. If you want to throw the word hate around, we can say how you book Forbidden Door every year. You must hate the companies you partner with too, because you don't put any of them over. You must hate the other company where your other champions are, because they rarely win on AEW television. Let's start there. Let's get WWE out of our mouths and the ideology that you want to hopefully tampering there. We want to take each other's free agents and stuff like that. There's no tampering violations in the world of professional wrestling, but if anything, that would call for that. But it's one of those things where it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth about AEW as a whole. And it's like, you want to like the program, you want to like the matches, you want to get invested in the storylines that are there. We can talk about Mercedes not having a match at all, and maybe not having a match at all in the near future, because at the end of the day, if it's going to be competition, we got to start curating better things in-house. And maybe we need more business-minded people in there that can say, hey, you sign the checks and let us run this.
Yeah, I was just going to...
Let us do this. A operational side of things where it's like, you just sign the checks. We can't have this face of industry thing going on here. I think he's so obsessed with wanting to be like Vince McMahon that it's coming off the exact opposite at times.
That part.
It's like be the alternative, put on great shows, put on great matches. You have the talent that's willing to go there. They have the easier schedule, which they love. Build on that. We don't need hate amongst the companies because there's definitely no hate amongst the talent. Talent is rooting for each other. Talent is happy with each other. They're all friends. So putting the word hate out there amongst the companies just makes no sense. Makes no sense.
And Tony Khan, I was just looking up. He's a billionaire, right? We need to go back to the days of the silent billionaire. Like, just just be quiet. Just stay in the back, be quiet. Like you said, sign the checks. Other than that, that would make one thing would probably change my mind about how I feel about the fake TK. And that is AEW needs to find their version of Stone Cold so they can get him, Tony Khan, in the ring and give him a stunner. But just somebody to constantly just beat up the boss and just put the boss over eventually, and we'll eventually start liking him again. But as of right now, it's just not looking that way because promoting hate is one thing, but you can't do that. I just don't know with Tony Khan. Just go back to being the silent billionaire and sign the checks and do what you got to do. Just don't talk on the mic.
Take advice from the real TK, our silent billionaire here at WWT.
Okay,
there it is.
Right, it is. That
clip
part.
That one, works. Dylan. Clip that one. Boza says, "Preach Seti, that man hates New Japan." There was an argument to where to have forbidden door. It is at the USB Arena. That is true. Cindy, good to see you. Said, I don't want to buy your signed Lola Vice photo cards. All right.
I don't know where that came from, but okay.
Cousin Ron also said, we saw how being Vince McMahon ends. It's not good. Yeah. Preach said preach. And so, yeah, this is all so interesting. It's even more interesting because how do you say that the companies hate each other when your talent was in the other talent whole sphere for the biggest event of the year? Like WrestleMania at this point is kind of, the Super Bowl is very much like WrestleMania. I just believe that. And what happens with the Super Bowl is everybody comes out. Players from the other teams come out. People, I'm sure people from the UFL were there in college football and other spaces. So it only makes sense that wrestlers from other promotions, I saw with my own eyes, I know you did as well, honey, wrestlers who were in Philly, who were not a part of the WWE, who were there with opinions about WrestleMania. They bought their ticket to however they got in the door. They were involved. I saw several with my own eyes working together I'm just like, so this idea that these companies hate each other is so archaic. And for someone so young and so in front of everything, it's unfortunate that he doesn't really get it.
Either he's talking out his tuchus or he's just working us too, because he could be doing that and just giving us reason to talk it, but I don't think so.
I'm going to say this carefully, and this is one thing we've got to be careful about in the world of pro wrestling. Everyone's brains don't work the same. And so, and that's not a knock to anybody. It's to say that there are some companies that really do utilize all of these things to work. And then there are some other places that don't. And I don't think that, I say this respectfully, I don't think that Tony Khan's booking sense is one that says, let's utilize all of these things up to 6 months in advance to tell a great story. I literally feel like when it comes to some of these stories, it's happening week to week.
Yes.
So there's not enough forethought to say, I'm going to do this so that 4 months from now, this will happen, So I just think, in terms of him working us with the footage, working us with these comments, all these, I think there's something else at work. If you guys have ever been to an AEW show, you will know that if you've ever been there, you're going to see Tony Khan. You are going, Tony Khan will show up at least twice during the night, if not 3 times, with something to say that probably doesn't need to be said.
Right.
But I think he's in a space where he loves pro wrestling. And I think you need to love pro wrestling to be in this business. But with that said, I think you have to be able to pepper your love of pro wrestling with the business that needs to be handled. And you cannot be interested in being one of the stars in front of the camera that you don't shine in your role behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Khan on a microphone at a live event is so awkward when he
Oh
talks.
my Lord.
His voice
is.
always cracks, you know. And as far as the booking long term, look at the women's division. It's been so mishandled, and they're right there with Mariah May and Tony Storm coming in, Mercedes. Like they're right there. And when Britt Baker comes back and Jamie Hayter comes back, what's going to happen? I mean, they need to make the women's division a priority.
Yeah.
And it's just not. Oh man, I'm nervous about it because you know I want Britt Baker back. She's from Pittsburgh. I'm a Pittsburgh guy. Like I want her back, but not. I don't know. Maybe it's better if she stays away until they figure it out.
I just want to remind people that it was a month ago that we had big business, the debut of Mercedes Moné.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to remind you that this past Wednesday, she was in a backstage segment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, are you getting at what I think you're getting at?
I'm just saying there's no way that a month ago you have an event named after me and I can't even get on in front of the audience. And now, I mean, she's literally progressed from being in the ring to an in-ring interview to commentary desk to doing an interview at the top of the stage with the audience behind her to now a really random backstage segment where she's attacked and the lights go out. I didn't get to say it last week.
I also feel like the whole forced CEO thing is just to replicate the DMD chants. That's just me. That's
interesting.
I feel like that was only done. That theme song was only used to kind of replicate those three letters and getting the fans to say that in the arena.
Is it possible? Is it possible to say that if you know, even if the fake TK doesn't really know what he's doing with the CEO, could that be something that could make room for the CEO versus DMD later on? Like, is she a possibility that it might be possible that she's the one who attacked her and they're about to have a pay-per-view in Pittsburgh? Just saying.
It's possible.
I don't know why a owner would ever want to pick a fight with a dentist, but I mean, I guess
I don't even want to pick a fight with my dentist, bro.
Oh, this is great. This is
that
great.
dental plan ain't adding up.
This is great. This is absolutely great. All right. Well, they like for us to end on a high note, so we'll end here. Most people don't like Logan Paul, but congratulations to him as he has announced that he and his significant other are expecting a new baby. So congratulations to them. That is pretty awesome. I'm going to leave with speculation because we don't even have time to talk about it. And that is this. Mysteriously, Eric Rowan has backed out of all of his latest independent bookings. And he says it's because of contractual issues. You can go ahead and ponder that at will, and we'll talk more about it Wednesday. We got to go. Jason, how can the people find you on the social media streets and check out your podcast as well?
So That Wrestling Podcast comes out every Friday morning on YouTube and wherever you get your audio podcast. We just celebrated 3 years and 4,000 YouTube subscribers in the same week. So it's awesome.
Awesome.
Me and three of my friends, we just started doing it during the pandemic because we were getting together on Zoom anyway. And I'm like, hey, let's record this. So every Friday, youtube.com at That Wrestling Podcast, at That WrestlePods, our socials. And if you're looking to watch an indie show, I do commentary for a company called RWA right outside of Pittsburgh, Renegade Wrestling Alliance. You can catch the Spring Fling this Saturday, indiewrestling.us and indiewrestling.network to check that out this Saturday.
Nice.
Love to see it. Very good. Very, very good. Honey, how can the people find you?
You can find me here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays with the crew. Not so much Friday evenings, but Friday you can catch me for the watch along, Honey Smackdown every Friday. Don't forget to tune into the Honey Pot predictions every Monday and Friday before Raw and SmackDown, predicting all future WWE events. And Wrestling with Honey TikTok, Wrestling with Honey Instagram, Wrestling W Honey on Facebook, and like and subscribe to the new YouTube. That's going to be up and running really soon, the Wrestling with Honey podcast.
Excellent. Said, how can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at says at CWD_SAYS. My website, CedricDWeldon.com, for everything journalistic. On the gram, it says the answer. And here each week, I think there's going to be an NXT show soon, but if not, you know who to blame. Let's _J Della, who we did give you a Stand and Deliver review. But also, I'm sad that TK is not here. Eventually, we'll get into story time with the EST because your boy is celebrating 1 year at WWT.
Today's the day. Yes.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I will get into the story of how TK and I met and how she courted me for this platform another time because I would love to see her face while I tell that story.
Oh.
But we'll save it. We'll save it for my favorite day of the week, Vice City Wednesdays. So yes, keep it locked here.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Of course, you guys can find me at Bounderfied across all of the social spaces. You can check out my commentary work with Southern Honor Wrestling and IWE on IWTV. You can also check out my commentary work with the Nightmare Factory on their YouTube page and with All Caribbean Wrestling on their YouTube page as well. We just did a big event, of course, in Philly called Philly Mania. You guys will want to check that out when it hits YouTube. Honey was there. It was pretty wild, to say the least. And of course, I will be with Ashe Wrestling this Friday for Ashe Cosmos. We've already kicked off the week with our special previews of what's going on the socials. Today, we are previewing a big match that's coming between Danny B, who's one half of the King Bees, the NWA Women's Tag Champions, and Kiera Hogan. That match is going down this Friday in Charlotte, so that should be fantastic. Check out all the rest of my work with Ashe Wrestling at AsheWrestling.com or on their YouTube page. As for all things women's wrestling talk, check it out at WWTalkPod across all of the social spaces. Check out the website as well, WWTalkPod.com. Lots of interviews, so much content coming out of WrestleMania week that you guys will want to check out because, yeah, a lot of work was put in, so you want to check that out for sure. Honey's interviewing. There's some other interviews that are up right now from some NWA talent with Candace. She's doing that. TK did some work, so a lot of work out there. Check it out. Shout out to all of you in the chat. So many of you, Matt and Cousin Ron and MDB and Dylan and Boza and Cindyol. And I sound like I'm on, where do I sound like I'm on? Was it Romper Room? And they saw everybody in the mirror? I think it was. Anyway, that's way back. Cindyol and Dylan and Eric and Special Little Nobodies. And I think I've hit everybody. The chat was going crazy today. Shout out to all of you who have joined us in all the spaces that you can check us out. Again, we will be back here for WWT Live on Wednesdays. And we've got some other shows. Honey's got her wrestling her watch along with SmackDown. We've got a WoW post show, a Ring of Honor post show, NXT post show is coming, all the things. So check us out here at Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling network.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WWTalkPod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling network on the planet.